Hello and welcome. You're watching this special Budget 2026 on NewsX segment called My Budget Wishlist. And joining us today is TV Mohandas Pai, Chairman at RN Capital. Sir, can you help us with your top 5 Budget 2026 wish list?
Well, I don't have 10 wish lists, but I'll tell you some wish lists. First of all, this budget is coming in the backdrop of a very good economic situation. This year, we could grow maybe 7.58%. We've grown at an average of 8% in the first half of the year. And the second half looks very good. The third quarter is over. The banking industry is in great shape. NPAs are low. Banks having record profit. They're lending more money. Deposit growth is a bit sluggish. And we're also seeing huge investment in the economy. National income statistics say that last year about 96 lakh crores was invested. This year maybe 100 lakh crores could be invested, and that is good news. We're going to have a revision of the CPI in the last week of February because the existing CPI weights is based on 2011-12 weights, which is ridiculous because you can't have the same weights for 12, 13 years. So we're going to see a new way of measuring GDP, which is more in tune with what we want. The external environment is pretty hostile. We have tariffs from the United States, which is very high. We have uncertainty in the rest of the world. Hopefully, we'll sign a trade treaty with the EU maybe this month end by Independence Day or slightly later. And I hope that President Trump signs off on the deal that's lying on his table. If you look at all these issues, we are in pretty good shape. And inflation is low, which is very good. Interest rates have come down. I hope RBI reduces the interest rate because the biggest challenge for India is the very high cost of capital. If you look at all $4 trillion economies, the cost of capital is between 6 to 9%. Ours is 11 to 12%. As you grow to 10 trillion, this is a very, very major issue that needs to be solved. So what do I expect from the budget? I expect no new taxation from the budget because we are already taxed very high. And last year, the finance minister gave away maybe 1.5 to 2 lakh crores in income tax, which is very good. And she reduced the GST by about 2 lakh crores, basically from the compensation checks. So maybe 3 to 4 lakh crores has come into the hands of consumers, which is very good. And they've seen increased consumer activity. So no new taxes. Second is, I hope to have a focus on employment. The biggest challenge for India is that we need to have a higher level of employment within the economy. Every year, we're having about 2.5 crore young people attain the age of 21. They're born 21 years ago. And for the next 10, 15 years, this is going to be the situation. Most of them need jobs. At least 1.6, 1.8 crore people need jobs. Rest may go into agriculture or get married and not have jobs. But I think we are producing about 1.2, 1.3 crore jobs as per EPFO. I think you should look at the EPFO data because it's linked to Aadhaar and linked based on payments. But 80% of the jobs do not pay more than 25,000 rupees a month. So we have to increase higher paid jobs. So the focus has to be in employment. This has to be incentivized through a three-pronged strategy. First is we must pick up the 350 poorest districts. And in those districts, people are coming off the land, they surplus labor. The data is available in Niti Aayog. Incentivize job creation by saying we'll give 2.5, 3,000 rupees every month for any enterprise who hires a person for 2 years in these 350 poor districts. And we'll also pay the employees' contribution to ESIPF. They'll be paid on evidence of paying ESI Provident Fund. So there is documentation and audit. And this will be a blanket incentive for the next 5 years. Second is there are more than 5,000 census towns. India is now largely living in smaller towns and bigger towns, not in rural areas. Even rural areas are becoming part of smaller towns. So in these 5,000 towns, give them 20, 30 crore a year so they can improve infrastructure, build roads, sewage, water. So if you put money into development, they'll become centers of growth for the surrounding villages. Industries will come there. They will employ these people because labor will be cheap and labor-intensive industries can go there. And this will make for a greater efforts and greater jobs. Third is pick up the top 10 cities, give them 5,000, 10,000 crores a year to make them more productive for mobility. They need metros, they need better roads, they need sewage, they need water. And I think it's important for central government to put money into urbanization because after the delimitation exercise, after the census next year, more seats are going to come to urban India and urban India is going to dominate political power. So we need focus on employment. And the third thing which has to be done is more investments in the economy. The government this year is having about 11.5 lakh crores. You must increase it to 12.5 lakh crores or 13 crores, at least 10% more. There's a scheme for giving 50-year loans to state that must continue. And I think we've got to put more money into railways and more money into the road network. I think it's very important because they will increase the productive capacity of this country. The next is that we must have the Jan Vishwas bill or whatever bill it is there to decriminalize all offences. Today we are living in a criminal law state where the state has business laws and all kind of laws where the punishment is criminal for every small offence like not filing annual returns or some other returns. All that should go. The government is in the job. The Rajiv Gauba committee has been set up. They're doing many things. I hope we see reality and ease regulations. Also ease unnecessary regulations, cut off old regulations so the harassment stops. And if harassment stops, people can focus more on business. And then stop tax terrorism. Total tax disputes have gone up to 28 lakh crores from 5.5 lakh crores in 2014, out of which 14 lakh crores is tax collection that is in dispute that can be collected, 80% of that in the last 5 years. And I think the balance 14 lakh crores is for tax disputes where assessees and the assets are not available. It's ridiculous that is disclosed in the budget of last year. There's no debate in Parliament. None of the MPs pick it up. All they want is to have a ruckus and shut down Parliament, which is very, very wrong. I hope the debate on these issues. Stop tax terrorism. Next 1 year, declare the year of dispute resolution so that cases are decided. Cut short the time to go in for appeals. Do not go for appeals. Increase the level for appeals to 50 crores for the Supreme Court and High Courts maybe 10-15 crores. And government should not unnecessarily go in appeals. And you can't go on loading all these tax disputes on people and make them run here and there. And this is creating a very high cost of capital and greater risk for the economy. I think tax terrorism has to come down, tax disputes have to come down, and the government has to clean up its act. And then it's very important for the government of India to also look at the barriers to trade and investment in this country. It means that wherever people have to go to approval for government, they must see whether they give approval in 75% of the cases and do away the need for approval. Do away the need for people to go to government. Why should you get approval from the government from small silly things? And I think that's very important for government and for RBI and for SEBI. And as far as the RBI is concerned, a lot of reforms have been done, but the RBI FEMA Act is followed in a very different manner. The ED mentality is there, the FERA mentality is there in RBI. So we need reforms in the RBI where they'll cut down unnecessary form filling, unnecessary regulations, unnecessary work. And RBI should promise citizens that for any query raised by citizens, they'll answer in about 30-45 days. When business writes to RBI for approval or clarification, they never reply. See, similarly for SEBI too, the approval time for starting new funds, starting new activities is far too long. And SEBI says that they're getting a lot more activity, but they have to simplify and make sure that they don't come in the way of faster progress. Why should SEBI try to overdo regulations for sophisticated investors? Smaller investors require protection, not sophisticated investors. They must make things easy so that more alternate funds come up, more of these funds come up and work. And I think it's very important to do that so that institutional investors can do well. And we must also make sure that as far as private investments are concerned, the taxation on the issues is clarified because today is a mess to invest privately. RBI regulations say that every time you disinvest, you got to have a valuation that must go. Why should RBI bother with valuation? When people sell stock, it's between two people. What does the valuer got to do with it? What does RBI got to do with it? And it's important because then RBI say, don't give valuation, you can't send money out, you can't do this. All that must stop. For example, in the public markets, a depository holds the stock. So in the private market too, we must have a depository who will maintain the record, and when sale, they can remit the money. We must make easier for foreign capital to come in and foreign capital to go out. It's easy for foreign capital to come in the listed market and foreign capital to go out. In the unlisted market, it becomes very, very difficult. So they must ease that process, and we must attract more investment. And the last point is we need to make sure that the top 500 companies focus on exports. Whether it has to be done by incentives or it has been done by reducing protection for them, I think government has to see. The PLI scheme has been a fantastic success. We are becoming the second largest exporter of mobile phones today. And we could be exporting $45-50 billion this year. And it's important for all top 500 companies to focus on investment, focus on exports, because India is too small a country for the top 500 companies to grow 15-20% a year. If they want to do well, they have to export, and government has to remove barriers to export in terms of port procedures, in terms of corruption in the ports. There's that case in Chennai. Nothing has happened after that. Finance Ministry has just clamped down. We don't know what is happening. They must bring in reforms in customs, and we must make sure it's easier to export, easier to import, Too many regulations have to be removed. And the whole government should work on the basis of trust. Trust your citizens. There are 1 or 2% crooks in every country. To take care of the crooks, don't harm the 98, 99% people who are honest. And just because you want to go after the crooks, you hurt the 98, 99%, because the 1% crooks don't care about the law. They know how to take care. They'll bribe their way out. They don't bother with anything. You go after them with intelligence. Don't go after them with more regulations, more power to tax authorities who are, many of them are rent seeking and many of them are abusive. These are my expectations from the budget.
All right. Thank you so much for that.